ham, eggs, and Ms. Kettle. "Wake up, child. Time's a-wasting," a voice said. At first, I thought it was Lily's voice. Thought she was getting me up to milk the cows or split kindling or carry out the ash bucket. But a big colored woman with a red head wrap stared down at me, hands on hips. "Morning," the woman said, leaning closer, and I saw how her eyes didn't look in the same place. One eye seemed to be looking at my face, and the other at the top of my head. "They told me you was called Samuel. That your name?" "Yes," I said, quiet. "What did you say? I didn't hear nothing but air talking." "Yes," I said louder. "Huh, that's better." The cross-eyed woman nodded and folded her big arms. "I got a name, too, but you don't call me that. You just call me Ms. Kettle. Ms. Kettle. That's my made-up name," she repeated. "And my husband, he got a name, too, but you call him Ham. And my dog, he called Eggs." None of this made any sense to me. Where had Reverend Pry and Mr. Keephart gone to? Who was this cross-eyed woman? Why did she call herself Ms. Kettle? And why was she hiding in the church with me and Harrison? Harrison. My heart thumped as I sat up and looked over at the white bench where Harrison had been sleeping. Even in the gray morning light, I could see that the bench was empty. A terrible fear seized me. I turned and stared at the other benches, all empty. The striped carpet stretched into the shadows like straight paths leading away. Reverend Pry and Mr. Keephart had buried Harrison below the church. "Where's Harrison?" I said, my voice rising. "He was sleeping on that bench. Where'd he go to?" I jumped up and called out his name. "Harrison!" It echoed loud in the empty church. Miss Kettle grabbed hold of my arm. "Stop that, child," she said, one eye staring mean, the other looking off mean. "That old man ain't gone nowhere at all. Gone there." She waved her hand at the door to Reverend Pry's small room. "He'll be coming back in 1/2 minute. You just sit here and be good till he does. You listening to me?" She let go of my arm then and started picking up my blankets. "Where's Mr. Keephart?" I asked. "Don't know no Mr. Keephart," Miss Kettle said, holding a blanket under her round chin and bringing in the corners to fold it. "Reverend Pry?" She pressed her lips together. "No." "The Widow Taylor bring you here?" Miss Kettle's big shoulders heaved up and down. "Me and Ham and Eggs don't know nobody," she said, giving me a hard look. "That's the way it is. We just the movers who take you from here to there. Nobody knows us, and we don't know nobody. See?" Then the door of the Reverend's room opened, and out came Harrison looking like someone else. My mouth fell open. All Harrison's white hair, even his ragged beard, had turned black. A low-crowned straw hat rested on his head. He wore overall pants and a worn, checked shirt I'd never seen before. "Look like a fool in sheep's clothing," he snorted. "Boot grease on my beard. Hat like white folks. I ain't going nowhere in these clothes you give me." That made Miss Kettle mad. I could see her big shoulders go up like bread dough rising, and her face pinched together. "Me and Ham's the boss of here." She put her hands on her hips and stared at Harrison. "And we does the leading, and you does the following. You don't follow us, you get handed over to them crackers who's after you. You hear what I'm saying, old man?" Harrison sat down on one of the white benches then and fixed his eyes on the wall. He didn't say a word, only pressed his lips together and shook his head back and forth. "Go on," Miss Kettle said, giving me a push. "Go on, get ready, Samuel. There's clothes in that little room for you. We already be late enough. Don't want no more trouble." But when I got to the room, all I found was a faded sunbonnet and a cotton-striped dress lying across the back of a chair. I went out in the church to tell Miss Kettle, and she stopped and looked at me like I had lost my last crumb of sense. "You think you just gonna walk around out there?" She waved her hand at the windows. "Looking the same as you does now? You think your old master is gonna let you slip by him wearing the same old clothes he give you?" She pointed her finger at the Reverend's room. "You go in there and put on that dress and be purely glad you got me and Ham helping you run off." Sitting in one of the Reverend's chairs, I stared at that cotton-striped dress. It had stitch patches and yellow fire burns all along the bottom edge, so I knew a girl had worn it, one time or another. All of Lily's dresses were burned from catching sparks. Last thing I wanted to do was wear some girl's dress. "You coming, Samuel?" Miss Kettle called from the church, sounding mad. I picked up the dress and shook it hard, as if it was crawling full of bed bugs. Then I peeled off my rain-stiff clothes and slid the dress over my head quick as anything. I took my mama's gray yarn from my trousers and tied the yarn around my neck to keep it safe. Then I pulled on that sunbonnet, but I couldn't see anything except one small circle the size of a dinner plate in front of me. Almost walked into the door jamb. "There now," Miss Kettle said when I came into the church room. "Ain't that some kind of disguise? Can't even see the boy's face." "Lord have mercy," I heard Harrison whisper. "All right, we's ready." Miss Kettle smacked her brown hands together. "We ain't going out in daylight looking like this." Harrison's voice was loud. I turned my head to see him. "No, we ain't. Me and Samuel is staying here till it's night and dark." He leaned back against the church bench and folded his arms across his chest. Miss Kettle walked over real slow. She was a big kind of woman. "Then you and the boy's gonna get caught by the night patrols," she said, staring down at Harrison with her cross eyes. "They gonna see two black fools sneaking down the road late at night and know you run off. Only things that go sneaking round Ripley, Ohio at night is horse thieves and runaways." Her chest heaved in and out, breathing hard. "Me and Samuel's gonna take a wagon," Harrison said, "and hide inside it." "Don't see no wagon," Miss Kettle said, looking around. "You see a wagon somewheres?" Harrison was quiet for a long while, like he was thinking hard. Then he heaved a loud sigh and stood up. "Go on," was all he said, waving his arm, angry. "Go on." "Lordy." Miss Kettle pushed in front of us, her dress swaying back and forth like a blanket on a clothesline. "Follow me." We went out of the church the same way we came in, through the Reverend's room. Outside it was foggy and gray-looking. No morning sun at all. The yard was empty. Only thing left was the mud tracks where all the wagons and carriages had been. Miss Kettle stood half in and half out of the door, talking to us. "You walk on past the church and down that church road till you see a wood plank bridge." She pointed. "In front of that bridge is an old tree stump, big as a tabletop. You sit by that tree stump and wait till Ham and Eggs comes by and gets you." One eye looked hard at me and the other at Harrison. "You understand what you're supposed to do?" It gave me a strange feeling, as if there were two people inside her head. "Yes'm," Harrison said sharply. "We does." And then he hobbled away without another word. When we got farther down the road, Harrison turned and looked back at the church. The door was closed, and Miss Kettle was gone. "You keep your head down so they don't see inside that bonnet, Samuel," he whispered. "And you let me talk if there's talking. And if there's trouble, you take to your heels and run like lightning into the woods. You don't wait for me or nobody else." He spit at the ground. "I don't like this disguising and walking in daylight at all. Not at all. Anyone with eyes can see I ain't young and you ain't a girl." The man that Miss Kettle had called Ham was already waiting by the tree stump when we got there. He was a skinny black fellow, leaning back on his elbows and smoking a yellow clay pipe. A long-haired dog was following his nose in circles around the bottom of the stump. "Morning, I'm Ham," the fellow said in a way that didn't sound friendly or not. The dog sidled over, but he wouldn't give my hand a lick, just sniffed at me and Harrison. The fellow looked up at the gray sky and puffed lazily on his pipe. "Good day for fishing," he said. "Lady told us you were supposed to take us somewhere." Harrison's voice was cross. "You just gonna sit there smoking your pipe and talking about fishing, or you gonna take me and Samuel where you was supposed to be taking us?" "Well, now, I don't know," the fellow said slowly. Reaching behind him, he pulled up a whole stringer of fish from the tall grass, as if they'd just been swimming there. "Said it's a good day for fishing, didn't I?" I stared at the fat, yellow-bellied fish, my mouth wide open. The man squinted at Harrison. "Old man Know-It-All died last year, I think. Lest you be him." Chuckling to himself, Ham slid off the stump. The dog jumped and snapped at the dripping tails of the fish. "Like I says before, it's a mighty good day for fishing, ain't it? You want to carry this string of fish we caught this morning?" he said to Harrison. "Or not?" Harrison just took the stringer of fish. Didn't say a word. "All right, then. The girl you be calling Samuel," he gave Harrison a crooked grin, "she gonna carry your fishing poles." Ham handed 2 fishing poles to me. "And you and her gonna just walk up this road real slow and easy, like you been fishing in the creek real early, see? Me and Eggs, we walk ahead and keep a lookout. Be a few miles of walking maybe, but when I turn off the road, that's where we stop and meet again." Ham whistled for his dog and started down the road. "Lord have mercy," I heard Harrison say under his breath. "Come on, Samuel." But it gave me a jumpy feeling to sneak along a road in daylight pretending to be someone else. I couldn't see a thing, and I kept pitching forward and tripping on account of that sorry old dress dragging in the dirt. "You're the worst girl I ever seen," Harrison said over his shoulder. "Pick up your feet." The only good thing was that no one came riding down the road. And then someone did. A stringer of fish. Voices and a jangle of wagon chains started up far behind us. We were walking a steep part of the road. "Something's coming," I said to Harrison. "Keep walking," he answered without turning around. "Just keep walking and keep your head down." Ham was so far ahead, all you could see was a smudge of brown that was his coat, and a smudge of fur that was the dog, Eggs. He didn't care a straw about us, seemed like. Wasn't watching at all. The wagon pulled closer. I could tell it was a wagon instead of a carriage by the creaking sound of the wheels. Sounded like big tree limbs swaying in the wind. Master Hackler had an old carry-all wagon, my mind said. What if Master Hackler was coming up the hill toward us? Keep walking, keep walking, keep walking. A voice cursed at the horses to pull harder. I strained my ears to hear the names of those horses. I thought I heard Nap and Red, and when I heard those names, I let out some of the breath I was holding. Master Hackler's work horses were called Webb and Hall. But if it wasn't Master Hackler, it could be just about anybody. Maybe white patrollers following us and chasing us down. Keep walking, keep walking, keep walking. I kept my head down and tried not to catch my feet on the edge of that old dress. What was it the riverman had said? Walk as if you have the perfect right to do so. Keep your shoulders back. Swing your arms. Don't scuttle around like a bent-over black beetle, or they'll know that's exactly what you are. A team of grays rattled past, pulling a wagon piled high with barrels and stove wood. I saw the wagon pass Harrison, who was walking in front of me. Then the creaking and rattling slowed. "Whoa, boys," the wagoner said, and the horses came to a halt in the middle of the road. There was silence first, like the wagoner was looking us over, and then he called to me and Harrison. "You, darkies, come on over here." My feet stopped, felt like they had turned to lead. The wagoner leaned over the side of the wagon. I could see his wide back with a dark stain of sweat from shoulder to shoulder. He pointed to Harrison. "Let me see what you got there in your hands," he said. "Hold up them fish so I can get a good look at them, boy." Harrison stepped closer to the wagon and lifted the string of fish. I could see the fish dangling and turning in the air. Me and Harrison were just like those fish, I thought, dangling in the air, barely breathing. "You and the girl catch all them pretty fish this morning?" The man's voice was sharp and mean as a fishhook. "Yes," Harrison said, real low. I ducked my head down and kept my eyes on the ground, looked at the ruts and the horseshoe prints and the broken-up rocks and the dung piles. Didn't want him to see there wasn't any girl inside that bonnet. "Ain't that nice?" the wagoner said. "But I think you should give a few of them fine-looking fish to me, don't you?" Looking up quick, I saw the fellow reach down and tug the string of fish out of Harrison's hand. "White folks gotta eat supper too," he said. After the man took the fish, Harrison didn't move. He just stood next to that wagon with his arms stiff at his sides. Looked like he turned into a block of wood. "Tell you what." The man twisted the string of fish this away and that away, looking at them. "Since you've been good enough to fish for me this morning, it wouldn't be right if I didn't leave something for you." And in a flash, the wagoner laid that string of fish on his wagon seat, thumped the head off the smallest one, and threw it at the ground in front of Harrison's feet. "There you go, Docky. Now you and that girl of yours got some fish to eat for your supper." He leaned his head back and laughed loud as the wagon pulled away. Me and Harrison just stood on the side of the road after that, like we were nothing but a pair of old fence posts stuck in the dirt. "You remember me telling you how my old master's son caught me fishing one night when I was young?" Harrison said real quiet. I nodded. "They went and gave me a lash for every one of them fish I caught that night. You remember me telling you about that? They said the pond wasn't mine, and the night wasn't mine, and the fish wasn't mine. Harrison looked down at the fish head lying in the road. It was nothing but a sad triangle with one staring eye. Got 11 scars on my back from them fish, Samuel. And the whole time my master was laying his cowhide across my back. Know what I was thinking? Harrison looked at me. I was thinking that someday, when I got myself free, I was going to have me my own pond in the north, and I was going to own every one of them fish in my pond, right down to the muddy bottom. He picked up the fish head. Walked all this way north to find out it ain't no different here at all. Nothing belongs to us here, neither. White folks own all the ponds, all the fish, and they're going to take whatever belongs to us down to the very bottom. No matter where we go, Samuel. You and me and all the colored people in this world ain't worth... He flung the fish head hard into the woods. Nothing. Up ahead, Eggs started barking. Ham stood at the top of the hill, waving his arms, waving and waving at us to keep walking. We supposed to keep moving? I asked. Go on. Harrison gave me a hard push. You go on up the hill, and when you catch up to that skinny fella, you tell him that I ain't walking all the way to Canada, he snapped. Don't even want to go to Canada no more. No, I doesn't. Green Murdoch. Ham didn't listen to me or Harrison, though. When Harrison got to where Ham was waiting, he tried to tell him that we weren't going any farther. You can just leave us right here, Harrison said. A wagon or a horse or the Lord himself can come and get us. I ain't walking no more today. But Ham just puffed slow on his pipe and said it was only a stone's